hey there, good morning. This is Joe Van Cleve from a public park in Albuquerque, and we're bringing you today the second video in our typewriter series. Today I've brought 4 portable typewriters out here, and I'm going to use them to discuss the common features, controls, and items on these typewriters, and I hope this is informative for you to help you select a particular type of typewriter. Okay, so stick with us. Okay, so the 4 typewriters that I brought today, starting on your right, this is a Royal Mercury, and it's made in Japan by Silver Seiko. It is a portable typewriter. The second one is a Hermes Rocket, made in Switzerland. It's about 1953 vintage. The third one is a Webster XL 747, which is made by Brother in Japan. And the fourth one over on your left side is the Olivetti Lettera 22. And this one is made in Italy, and it has the British style keyboard. Well, I'm going to start out by showing you the features of the one typewriter of these 4 that has the most features. So we'll cover the Olivetti Lettera 22 first, and then I'll talk about the other 3 typewriters and how they might differ. Now keep in mind that with typewriters, it's very much like with automobiles. They all have pretty much the same functions in terms of the driver controls, but they're oftentimes in different locations. Your headlight switch might be on the stalk or on the dashboard. Your windshield wiper control might be on the right or the left side. So there's variations between models and brands, and the same thing is true with typewriters, as we'll see. Okay, we're going to start with the Olivetti Lettera, or Lettera, depends on how you think it's pronounced, 22. So I'm going to start in the back of the carriage area. So you have these 2 controls right here. These are your margin controls, the left and the right side, and they can be moved in and out to change your margins. Some of them, like this one, you push down and slide, others you pinch together. Some of the older machines, the margins are on the back. This typewriter also has the paper supports. This has a double pair of paper supports, and they deploy manually like that. Others, there's a button you push and it pops up. So the carriage moves back and forth, and it's powered by a spring motor. If you want to move the carriage manually, there's a carriage release button, which you have to hold the platen knob, push down and hold, and you can move the carriage between the limits set by the margin stops. And you'll notice as you get to within a few characters of the right margin, the bell rings, which is a little audible indication. Okay, so in this particular machine, this is a half space machine, which means that every ratchet click of the platen, it's going to move a half line up. So 2 clicks is 1 full line. There is a selector switch here that you can select between 1, 1.5, or 2 line spacing every time you do a carriage return. So the carriage return moves the carriage back to the left, and it also advances the line. How far it advances is determined by this particular switch. Now in this particular machine, it's actually 1, 1.5, and 2, but it's labeled 1, 2, and 3 on the engraving. So there is a difference there. On the right side, there's going to be a button or a lever that you pull forward, and it's going to release the tension between the platen and the feed rollers down here, and that'll enable you to straighten out the paper when you feed it in. And there's a paper bale that you can raise up. There's 2 little cylinders that apply pressure to the paper. So that's the top part of the machine. Down here near the keyboard, we have all the keys that do the printing. This older style machine does not have the number 1. It has you use a lowercase l instead. So you're going to have lowercase and uppercase. The way you select uppercase is either pressing the shift on either side, or the shift lock will lock it. Whatever's in the upper part of these symbol keys will be printed as uppercase. Otherwise, it's going to be the lower ones. This typewriter has tabs, so tabulators. You can set tabs on any one of the positions of the keyboard. You go to the tab with the red button, and you set tabs. By moving the carriage wherever you want a tab set, you pull this lever here forward towards you to set the tab, or if you want to go to a tab and erase it, you push it away and you erase that tab position as such. Spacebar moves one space every time you press it. And down here on the upper right corner is a lever that has a blue, white, and red dot, and that is the ribbon selector. And so I'm going to take the top panel off the typewriter momentarily. These are the ribbon spools. This is the basket or the segment where the type bars and type slugs are. Every time you press an imprint key, it's going to raise the ribbon up. And how far it raises is determined by the selection on this lever here. The blue or black selection is using the top part of the ribbon. If you select the red, it's going to raise it further, and if you're using a two-color ribbon, you would get red imprinting. As it is, I use a full black ribbon and I can get twice the use out of it. So there is also underneath the panel here, there's a lever right here that's the touch selector. It enables you to select how much force there is on the keys. So those are the main controls on a typical portable typewriter like an Olivetti. I'll also mention back here there is a carriage lock lever that you've pushed down, move the carriage release to the middle, and it'll lock the carriage for shipment. And also the carriage return lever folds up for shipment. Now we're going to look at the brother-made Webster XL 747. It has very similar features to the Olivetti you just saw. It has the 1, 1.5, and 2. I might also mention, I didn't point out on the Olivetti, that it also has another position up here that you push it to the rear. You don't get any ratcheting at all. You can slip the paper completely on the platen, and that's handy for typing into special pre-printed forms where you can adjust the line vertically wherever you want. And once you move it back to the normal line spacing, it returns to the same ratcheting position. This typewriter also has another interesting feature. So first of all, what I also didn't point out on the Olivetti, all typewriters have a backspace key, and it's usually a right arrow or it says backspace, but it basically moves the platen to the right, or moves your print position back one space at a time. Now, I mentioned earlier about the margin settings, how the carriage can be moved manually between the margin settings with your carriage release lever, which on this machine is here. You also have the ability to move the carriage beyond the margin. So it stops at the right margin, but if you press this key, which says margin release, it's usually a double key. On the Olivetti, it's a blank key in the upper left corner. Some of them say say margin release or MR, but you basically release that and then you can continue typing beyond the right margin. Also, if you go to the left margin, hold down the margin release, you can backspace to prior to the left margin. So that's kind of a handy feature. This machine is newer than the Olivetti, and so it has a number 1 key instead of having to use a lowercase l. It has tabs. This machine has tabs like the Olivetti. However, this machine has preset tabs. They're every 5 spaces. I think every 5 spaces. Make me a liar. But anyways, the tabs are basically not selectable or not adjustable. They're fixed. And then this has the touch selector between the high and the low feel. This touch selector is right on the keyboard itself instead of being underneath the ribbon cover. And then one feature of this typewriter that is really nice, and very few typewriters have it, is the repeat spacer. Isn't that cool? You can hold down the key and it'll just automatically move the space bar like that. The ribbon selector is right here on the right. It just happens to be the opposite order. It's the black positions on the bottom and the red is on top. This one also has, of course, a panel that lifts off to gain access to the ribbon. And there's your ribbon spools. And again, the touch selector is not underneath here, it's right here. So that is the brother-made typewriter. Let's next go to the Hermes Rocket. Okay, we're going to now look at the Hermes Rocket. It is considered an ultra-portable typewriter. It's one of the smallest typewriters ever made, and because of that, it's going to have a few less features than the other two you've seen. First of all, the carriage release lever is this little lever on the right. The carriage return lever is much smaller and shorter than the other two typewriters. And you notice it folds down and locks for storage, and it deploys like that. It has only 2 line spacing adjustments, 1 space or 2. And it has simple margin margin adjustments back here, and there is a simple paper support lever that folds out like that. This typewriter does not have tabs at all. So you'll just have to space over or move over wherever you want to do a column of numbers or figures. The backspace key is this sort of reversed arrow right here. Your margin release is the double left-right arrow right there. That'll allow you to go beyond the left or right margins. One of the other differences between this one and the other one is, whereas the other two machines were pica sized or roughly 10 characters per inch, this is 12 characters, so it's smaller size letters. You'll also notice instead of having a top cover, it has just individual covers that come open above each ribbon spool. So your type slugs are more open up here, and you can gain access to clean them a little bit easier. In fact, these need to be cleaned, in fact. So it's a very simple typewriter. And another feature that I haven't mentioned on the others is half spacing, where if you push the space bar down and release it, this one only moves the carriage one time, and that means it's not a half space machine. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Well, this is a simple full space machine. That's the Hermes Rocket, very, very portable. So the Royal Mercury is also a sort of ultra portable, not quite as small as the Hermes, but certainly a portable typewriter. It has a carriage release lever on the right like the others. It has simple margin adjustments up on top. It has a simple single bladed paper support back there. And it has, on this one, the line spacing selector is 1, 1.5, and 2. And of course there is another position below it, again, that enables you to slip the paper position continuously without any line ratcheting, and you can go back to the previous ratcheting just by flipping it back up there. On the keyboard itself, you have a touch selector on the left, high to low, so you can adjust the touch. Margin release says MAR-REL. Margin release, your shift and shift lock are labeled. This has a number 1 key, so it's a newer style keyboard. The backspace is also labeled with backspace. Your ribbon color selector, black is on the bottom, red is on top. And it has a simple pull-off cover for the ribbon spool access, which are right there. So that is the Royal Mercury. It's a very reliable typewriter, and I've had a lot of fun with it. Okay, to summarize between the 4 machines, let's refer to my little list that I made here. So the Hermes Rocket has the least number of features of all these typewriters. It is also the only one of the 4 that types in the smaller elite size font. The other 3 also have 1, 1.5, and 2 line spacing, whereas the Rocket only has 1 and 2. And the Brother Webster is the only one with a repeat spacer feature. And the Brother Webster and the Mercury are the only ones with the number 1 key. The other 2 are older machines that don't have it. So there is a half space feature, which I'll have to show you. These 3 newer ones have it, the Rocket doesn't. And tabs, the Olivetti and the Brother have tabs. The Brothers are fixed, the Olivettis are completely adjustable, settable. And the carrying cases, these 2 machines have hard shells, these 2 have zippered cases. And in the case of the Olivetti, they're known to break the zippers very easy. So overall, all 4 of these machines are really pretty good machines. Any one of them I would be comfortable with taking out anywhere. I traveled with the Rocket for 21 days, a 5,000-mile road trip, and it has the least amount of features of all these, but it's lightweight, easy to carry, and types really good. The Royal I've had out on vacation in California on the beach at least 3 times, and sitting on a beach chair by the Pacific Ocean typing. The Olivetti and the Brother I haven't had as long, but they're great machines and could easily be taken anywhere. So any one of these portable machines can serve you well as a portable typewriter, portable writing device. And so which one you get is up to you in terms of aesthetics, features, and the way it feels and looks to you.